The Idoneth Deepkin have erupted from the depths and are drowning out the competition. Is this spearhead the perfect box to embark on your underwater journey, or does it leave you high and dry? Let's dive in. Hello everyone, it's Darren and welcome back to Coffee Hammer. The Idoneth Deepkin have got their full 4th edition release with a new battle tome, stunning hero models and a terrifying manifestation. But more importantly, a new spearhead box for us veterans and new players to enjoy. In this spearhead review, we will break down the content of the box, calculate the value, analyze the rules and strategy, as well as compare it to its previous box and how one might expand beyond spearhead. Prepare to guard your souls as we submerge under the water with the IDK Spearhead. The Achelian Tide Guard Spearhead is led by a prodigious Achelian King, a deadly martial hero and battlefield commander, which can alternatively be built as Volturnus, High King of the Deep. He leads a force of 3 Achelian Ishin Guard and 3 Achelian Morsar Guard. These are your elite riding cavalry and 10 Namarti reavers that provide range support. The IDK have a smaller but incredible roster of beautiful models that captures the unique design and aesthetics of their lore and culture. Although there aren't any new models in this spearhead box, all the models are still fairly modern, coming out back in spring of 2018. The Achelian King is a stunning looking hero model. The Deep Mare is a nightmarish looking creature of the sea with a piercing horn, 3 powerful tails and huge talons. The eels that the cavalry ride on are also creepy looking with their long slick bodies and sharp teeth. The Namarti reavers have a really dynamic poses too, despite their eerie and disturbing lack of eyes. They look and feel like fast moving scouts that can fire with pinpoint accuracy. The lore and aesthetics of the Idoneth is an elegant and tragic blend of Atlanteans, vampires and deep sea horror. This spearhead has 17 models spread across 4 units, and if you were to buy each unit separately at retail price, the Achelian King costs £37, the Achelian Guards both cost £37 as well, and the Namarti reavers are also £37. It will cost you a total of £148, which means buying this spearhead will save you £60.50, and that's a mighty 40% discount on some fantastic looking Age of Sigmar models. Not only that, but I'll also say that this is one of those rare spearhead boxes that I will suggest getting 2 of if you plan on starting collecting this army for match play. The heroes and Achelian Guards are dual purpose kits, giving you 2 different heroes and 2 reinforced units of any type of eels you want. And the Namarti reavers are also and have been a solid shooting unit for the army. If your local gaming store still has stock of the older spearhead box, that is also a great second purchase alongside this spearhead. So when it comes to value and model range, I'm going to say this is already a 10 out of 10. Moving on from the models and into the rules and war scrolls, let's see what the underwater elves can do on the tabletop. The Achelian King, aka the Slap King, is a ridiculously fast cavalry hero with 12-inch movement, 7 health and a good 3+ save and a control score of 2. His royal weapon has 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, rend 1 damage 2, and the Deep Mare has 4 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, rend 1 and damage 2. Already the Slap King has a stacked set of attributes for any hero, a total of 9 attacks with damage 2, he can slice through models like Tsushimi. He also has 2 abilities, the Raider's Resolve and Wave Rider. With Raider's Resolve, you use this ability in your hero phase by picking another friendly unit wholly within this unit's combat range to be the target. Then roll a dice on a 3+, add 1 to save rolls for the target until the start of your next turn. This is a good solid +1 save ability. It happens 66% of the time, so not too reliable, but it does last into the start of your next turn, so depending on the turn order it can last for a couple of turns or more. While Wave Rider on the other hand is used in any charge phase. If this unit charges this phase, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target, then roll a d3 on a 2+, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. Impact Mortals is a staple for any hard hitting cavalry unit, and it's nice to see that the Slap King has retained it for Spearhead. Dealing 2 or 3 mortal damage can instantly kill a model or 2 or significantly bring an enemy hero's health down, making it easier for you to destroy in the combat phase. You're going to be diving around the battlefield with this hero, hunting down lone characters and smaller size units. If 12-inch movement wasn't fast enough, you also have 6 Achillean guards that move even faster. The Morsel guards have 14-inch movement with 4 health each on a 4+ save and a control value of 1, with Volt Spears having 2 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, Ren 1, damage 1, with the charge +1 damage weapon ability. The Fang Warriors have 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, Ren 1, but D3 damage instead. Just like the Slap King, this unit is fast and can do a lot of damage in the combat phase, with a maximum damage output of 39 on the charge. They also have Impact Mortals in the form of Biovoltic Blast, a once per battle ability in the charge phase. If this unit charged this phase, pick an enemy unit within 1 inch of it to be the target, roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in this unit, add 1 to each roll if there are more models in the target unit than this unit. For each 3+, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. Although it's only a once per battle ability, it's another way for your army to punch through mortal damage, and pretty reliably too. Most units in the game have more than 3 models, except things for like heroes or heavy infantry and cavalry, which means charging into the majority of enemy units, you'll be rolling 3 dice and dealing 1 mortal damage for each 2+. Charge in with the Morsel Guard and General for those mortal damages, and then finish off anything left standing in the combat phase. Mirroring the Morsel Guards are your other cavalry unit, the Ishlean Guards. With the same stats of 14-inch movement, 4 health, 4+ save and a control of 1, these eels will be rippling across the battlefield with their Hell Sabers that have 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, Ren 1, damage 1, but no weapon abilities. The Fang Warriors are the exact same with 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, Ren 1 and damage D3. Instead of impact hits on the charge, they have the Biovoltaic Barrier, a once per battle combat phase ability, so use this before your attacks are declared, pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target, roll a dice on a 3+, subtract 1 from the attack characteristic of the target unit's weapons for the rest of the turn. A 66 chance to reduce the number of attacks of a unit by 1 is very effective, even if you do fail once every 3 games on average. This is more defensive than offensive, and a great target for your general's +1 save ability. 3 models with 4 health on a 3+ save that moves 14-inch and can fly across the battlefield with ease and pin your opponent's army in the deployment zone in the first turn. What more can you ask for? When you do manage to get the -1 attacks on an enemy unit, it really forces your opponent on the back foot, giving you time for the rest of your army to secure objectives and score battle tactics. It can still pack a punch with their damage D3 eels when push comes to shove, and so far we have 3 fast moving and aggressive units. Let's see what the Namarti reavers bring to this force. A unit of 10 Namarti reavers have less movement but still a significant 7-inch move. They have 1 health each with 5+ save and a control value of 1. Their Whisper Bows have 12-inch range with 2 shots, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, Ren 1, damage 1, with the crit auto wound weapon ability, and a very bad combat profile, 1 attack, hitting on 3s, wounding on 4s, no Ren, damage 1. As a big block of 10 reavers, you can get 20 shots with crit auto wounds. That's a lot of shots with Ren 1, damage 1. They are weak in combat with their 5+ save and 1 health, but they are fast enough to stay away from the danger, but just be within range to let loose some shots with their Whisper Bows. To make them even more agile and slippery, they have the Strike on the Move passive, granting them the ability to shoot even if they ran or retreated in the same turn. Great for getting out of combat and still shooting, but you still do suffer the mortal damages when retreating. Run and shoot is very useful too. You're always going to be running to get the maximum range of movement possible, letting them keep up with your super fast eels or even dive on an objective on the other side of the board. And if for any reason they do get caught in combat and wiped out, you can just bring them back with the reinforcement ability. This flexibility means you don't have to worry too much about letting them die, so you can use them as extra bodies to take control of an objective if you need to, or even as a screen against spearheads that want to turn 1 charge you. Your eels and slap kings have fly, so they can just fly over your Namartis and still play the game. I mean, what a great selection of war scrolls. You have an incredibly fighty and fast general with 6 equally as fast and aggressive Achillean cavalry, and the Namarti reavers providing range support and dashing around the battlefield just adds that extra spice. For your army's unique battle trait, you have the Royal Imperative, a once per battle army ability in any combat phase. You can only use this ability in the 3rd battle round, so jot that down because if you forget it, you can't use it in the 4th round. You pick one of the following effects to apply for the rest of the battle round. You can have Strike First or Crit Mortals in combat. This is the classic IDK ability that's very similar to what they have in full-scale AOS. Crit Mortals is very useful for getting past high armor save enemy units, as you only have Ren 1 on your weapons. Strike First is perfect for all your units attacking and dealing as much damage as possible before your opponent can strike back with what they have left alive. Personally, I like Strike First more as it acts as both an aggressive and offensive tool. As much as it is a very powerful battle trait, I'm not sure how well it will play out in Spearhead's smaller board size. In full-scale AOS, you have a battlefield 4 times the size, so you can stay away from your enemy in the first couple of rounds before you decide to strike first in battle round 3. But in Spearhead, the action begins straight away in the first battle round. Keeping your units away or alive until round 3 might be trickier with a smaller board, but not impossible. Learning how to position your army and leveraging your units well until battle round 3 is key to unlocking the full potential of this army. As you have no other battle trait ability, you are effectively playing with no bonuses for 3 out of the 4 rounds of the game. So you want to maximize how many units can strike first or have Crit Mortals. So a very powerful battle trait, but the huge downside is it doesn't do anything until battle round 3. When playing games of Spearhead, before the battle starts, you can pick one of your regiment abilities. The Spear of Aspharan is a once per turn army, any charge phase ability. You pick a friendly unit that's not in combat to use this ability. You add 1 to charge rolls for that unit for the rest of the turn. +1 to charge for a single unit is okay, not amazing, but it's nice to have, but considering your hero and cavalry units are already fast, this might not be as important of a pick. The other regiment ability is the Shield of Ulchus, a once per turn army, your movement phase. Pick a friendly unit in combat to use this ability. They can retreat this turn and no mortal damage is inflicted on them. Okay, this I like a lot more. This ability goes perfectly with your Namarti reavers that can already retreat and shoot. This is also useful for getting your general or a cavalry unit out of combat if they are bogged down and set them up for a later charge. Movement abilities like this are always very good and very useful. With fast units and Namarti reavers that can retreat and still shoot, I'm gonna say this regiment ability is much better, or at least much more useful than +1 to charge rolls. To make your Slap King slap even harder, you can equip him with an enhancement, and you have 4 to choose from. Dutiful Souls is a once per battle your hero phase ability. Pick a friendly unit wholly within 12 inches of your general to be the target. Return 1 slain model to the unit, or D3 if it's infantry. So 1 eel for your Achillean guards, or D3 to your Namarti reavers. This is a neat little once per battle ability. Bringing back 1 eel seems a lot better and more reliable than D3 Namarti reavers, and they already have the reinforcement ability, so you don't have to worry too much about them dying, as you can just bring them back. You can pick a unit that is in combat too, so if one of your Achillean guard model dies, you can bring it back to the unit. The model doesn't have to be brought back wholly within 12 inches of your general, just within coherency range of the unit that is targeted. Shimmering Amulet is your standard 5+ ward save, which is very good. Increasing the survivability for your general is great, especially as ward saves can be used against mortal damages, which your army is susceptible to. Voltaic Charge gives your general Achillean's royal weapons the charge +1 damage weapon ability. That's very spicy. 5 attacks with Ren 1, damage 3 is bonkers. Strike first or crit mortals in battle round 3 on top of that is a crazy combo. And Soul Snatcher is an end of any turn ability, so end of every turn. If your general is in combat, heal D3. Healing D3 every turn is really strong. Just throw your general in and watch him steal souls with the swing of his blade. But the small caveat is that it has to be in combat at the end of the turn. So if your general kills whatever it is in combat with, he won't be able to heal. Also, if the enemy unit has some sort of retreat ability and flees before you use your heal ability, you won't be able to either. Still a very powerful ability. Healing D3 is a significant amount every turn. Just make sure you pile in and engage 2 units, so if you do destroy one, you can still heal by being in combat with the other unit. All these enhancements are pretty good, and deciding which one to choose will depend on your opponent's army. If they are slow and you have the chance to turn 1 pin them in the deployment area with one of your eels, you can pick Dutiful Souls to keep them pinned in for longer. Shimmering Amulet is a good choice against armies that deal mortal damage, giving you a 5+ ward defense. Soul Snatcher is great into horde armies with lots of models and a lower damage output, letting your Slapkin always be within combat range of a chaff unit while you slap the more important units. And Voltaic Charge might be the weakest out of the 4, but it doesn't mean it's bad. A well calculated charge can be all you need to neutralize the opponent's force. Having that extra charge plus 1 damage helps tip the combat towards your favor. The Idoneth Deepkin are a very high skill ceiling army, meaning the more experience and the more you understand how each of the units operate and interact with each other, the better the army will perform. This is true for all armies, but more so with this Spearhead. Playing this army will be very nuanced, having to dance around the battlefield while simultaneously contesting objectives to keep up in points till round 3 is the biggest challenge when starting out. The battle trait is key to unlocking the full potential of this Spearhead, so you want to play into battle round 3 by preparing in the previous turn. One of the ways to do this is trying to seize the initiative in round 3 and take the double turn, charging with your general and Achillean guards in the bottom of round 2 and then seizing the initiative in battle round 3 to strike first against everything can completely wipe out your opponent's entire army when used correctly. Because your Royal Imperative only affects melee weapons, your Namarti reavers won't be relying on this ability. Having them engage the enemy in turn 2 to tie them up in combat gives you some sort of failsafe if you're unable to seize the initiative in round 3. The only time I won't choose strike first is if the opponent's army has a very good armor save that most of your combat attacks will bounce off. Armies like Blades of Khorne, Slaves to Darkness and even Nighthaunt have very good armor saves. Having crit mortals can be the better option. For regiment abilities, I'm gonna say the Shield of Ulchus is an important puzzle piece to this army. Retreating with your units help keep your fast units mobile, charge in with an Achillean guard, deal some damage, then in the next turn retreat them over the Namarti reavers, then have your reavers move up to block off possible charges and shoot them with ranged attacks. The Namarti reavers are fast and provide very good range support. I'll use them as an initial screen against an attacking opponent who can choose to go first and turn 1 charge me. If I was taking the first turn, I'll use the reavers to take the center of the board and objectives. This gives them the best position to pivot in any direction with their shooting attacks as well as subsequent turns of movement. The Morsar Guard's once per battle charge phase mortal damage is not a crazy amount, but is more reliable than other armies' charge mortals. You can easily get 3 mortal damage off against a unit that has more models than this unit, so we're looking for units with 4 or more models. I'll be keeping these guys far away from the fight until either round 2 or 3 for that all important strike first with everything. The Slapkin can do mortal damage on the charge 2 and isn't restricted to once per battle. Pairing him up with the Morsar Guard for lots of mortals in the charge phase is a good combo, or you can pair him up with the Achillean Guard. His Raider's Resolve can give them +1 to save rolls, making them very defensive, 3+ save against attacks with no rend, or 4+ saves against rend 1. He himself has a 3+ save, so you can be a bit more aggressive with him, but not throw him into the fray alone. The Achillean Guard don't have abilities that trigger on the charge, so you want to use them defensively or for prolonged rounds of combat. The once per battle Voltaic Barrier ability gives -1 attacks to an enemy unit in the combat phase, but rolling a 3+ on a d6 is still a risk. I won't be relying on this ability too often. It can be used as a secondary screen as well against aggressive armies that can easily wipe out the first screen of Namarti reavers. Maneuverability. All your units are the fastest in their class. The Namarti move 7 inches while the Achillean Guards move 14 and can fly. The regiment ability letting one of your units retreat and not suffer mortal damage is key to their mobility. Back-breaking battle round 3. Strike first with everything can wipe out a significant portion of your opponent's force, especially if you're going first that round. The effect lasts for the whole battle round, so you get 2 whole turns to strike first. High damage output. Your army has rend on all of their important weapons and either has high volume of attacks, high damage, or both. Difficulty. It's a very powerful army, but also very challenging to play for beginners. It can do well against the weaker spearheads, but will require a deep level of understanding and experience when fighting against some of the strongest spearheads in the meta. Elite. A small model count does mean that you will struggle when contesting objectives unless you destroy the enemy models contesting them. Also, the eels don't have reinforcement keyword, so once they die, they are gone for good. Average resilience and no ward saves. Susceptible to high mortal damage armies like Maggotkin of Nurgle, and they have average armor saves across the board, with the Namartis being fairly fragile with their 1 health and 5+ saves. There's not much healing and recursion outside of the Namarti Reaver's reinforcement ability and specific enhancements for your general. Overall, the Idoneth Deepkin Spearhead is an absolute standout box. Their mobility, deadly combat capabilities, and strike first in Battle Round 3 firmly places them as a competitive army, but also a difficult one to master. It offers exceptional value and a great start for new players looking to drown their enemies with the power of the storm and sea. Whether you're a veteran master of waves or just looking to dip your toes in the Aether Sea, I highly recommend catching this box. If you're planning on expanding your collection and building a 2000 points army with this spearhead, these are the next things that you will want to consider. The IDK Battle Tome contains the background lore, new rules and war scrolls, everything you need to build and play all sorts of lists, including 2 unique armies of renown. The Incarnate of the Deep is a gorgeous new model, conjured through the elemental ritual and empowered by ocean spirits. It seizes its prey with the abyssal tendrils, drowning them within its turbulent mass, while the Gloom-type Shipwreck provides protection to your infantry and cavalry units that stand close to it. You can also choose to double up on this box, giving you 2 lots of reinforced Achillean Guard, a reinforced unit of Namarti Reavers, and 2 hero options, the Achillean King and the alternative build, Volturnus High King of the Deep. The older or previous Spearhead box, whatever you want to call it, might still be floating around in your local wargaming store or online. If you grab that box, you'll get 3 more Achillean Guards, an Achillean Alopex, 10 Namarti Thralls, and an Esharan Soul Scryer. Both these boxes are a great way to expand the core of your army. When it comes to the big centerpiece model for the IDK, you have a couple to choose from. The Eidolon of Mathland has 2 variants. You can opt to go with a more magic focused hero with aspect of the sea, or a more combat focused hero with aspect of the storm. I love how the cape just gushes out like a tidal wave and all the little sea creatures coming out and around the model. The Achillean Leviathan is an iconic monster of the sea. The big turtle not only looks badass, but it is a tank of a monster in the game that provides defensive buffs to your units that stay close to it. And that brings us to shore with the Idoneth Deepkin Spearhead review. So what do you think? Are you going to ride the waves of the Achillean Tide Guard, or are you going to keep your feet firmly on dry land? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your takes on this Spearhead box. Subscribe if you haven't already, or the Idoneth will come and steal your spirit force. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!